All the tracks and audio files that are used in the project are located in the project bay. To view this, go to View and Project Effects Bay. Or you can use the shortcut of Command B on a Mac or Control B on a PC. There are 5 tabs here. This lists all the media that's related to your project. You'll see that there's a bunch of different columns here, which provide information on the respective media items. Let's just go under Source Media. Under File Name, it lists the names of the files that are used in the project. And you can right-click and do things like rename the file. You can copy it to another project if you want to move it to another project directory. You have status here that shows you if the files are active in the project or inactive. This retain column I'm just going to skip over. I'll explain it a bit later. Track is the name you have given the item in your project. So for example, this bass drum, I've given the name kick, and you can see it reflects in the left over here as well. Length gives the track length of the item. Type gives the format of the file. As you can see, I've used all WAV files. This column shows the sample rate of all the samples. Here's where comments will be displayed. You can make some comments here. Let's add a comment. And let's just type good loop. As you can see, it reflects there. Path shows the location of the audio material. As I mentioned in the recording audio video, it's best to keep all your audio material in the project directory. You'll see in this path column here if a file is located elsewhere. It'll have a different path. Let's say you've got a file that's located elsewhere. I've just added a loop over here, and you can see that it's got a different location here. But what I want to do is copy this into my project directory. So right-click it, then go to Copy File, and then say Copy into Project Directory. Now you see it resides in the same file as your project. It's very handy if you want everything to sit in the same place. You might want to hand this project over to someone else to mix or master, and you want to know that they've got all the files. As shown before, the filter is very handy. You can type in drum to filter out, so you just see the drums, or just type bass, so you can see all the bass involved in the project. But I've shown you this before in previous tutorials. This little green triangle over here allows you to play back the files. You can also use the Media Explorer to play back files, and it gives you a wave display of the file, which is quite nice. Let's move over to the media items. The media item lists all the media items that are related to the project, from audio files, MIDI files, through to virtual instruments. It has similar headings as the source media, but it has a few extra columns. It's got your takes over here, which shows how many takes you have of this item. You'll see over here with the Minimoog I have 2. Then there's the fade section, which shows your fades and fade out details. So you can see I've got some fades over here, and they reflect over here. And then you have the active take details. That gives details on the source of the item and its offset values. So I've got a way to explain the retained item that I skipped over earlier. I brought a loop into my project, and I've done a couple edits to it. And I find that I'm not so happy with this loop, and I want to change it out with another loop, but I don't have to redo all the edits. What you can do is click on the file. You see it's 130 here. Right-click and say Replace in Project. Go to All Instances and Retained. You'll see here are the other loops I brought into the project, and I want to bring in this. And you see it's changed over here. If I play it back, it's got the new loop with all the edits intact. Let's say after listening to it a bit, I'm not so happy and I want to go back to the previous loop I used. I can just go here, right-click, Replace in Project, All Instances, Retained, and I can change it back to the previous loop. So you can see here, it's back, and you still got all the edits. Let's move over to the Effects tab. This lists all the effects that have been used in the project, if they're active or disabled, on which track they're used. It'll show you any presets if it's available, and the type if it's an AU, a VST, or other type of plugin. And the developers can add their names here. You can add some comments if you want. And the path just shows where the plugin resides. With items and groups and take comps, I'll cover in a later tutorial because I haven't covered groups and comps yet. But when you do have some groups and comps, you'll see them here. Next up, we'll look at how to create fades with your items.